Hey YouTube, this is GarageGate79. It's about 12:30 a.m. December 23rd, and I just had some company leave. Now, one of the topics of discussion we had was one of my friends, his wife, asked me, said, "Mark, I hear lately you've been buying handguns, been down here, you made your little target shooting range." And I was like, "Yeah, what about it? You know, it's something I enjoy doing." She said, "Well, can I ask you one question?" I said, "Sure." She said, "What is a gun? Other than the obvious, you know, you point and shoot, you hit a target, you go hunting, or bad people kill people." She said, "What is a gun?" Well, I sit there for a minute and I looked at her husband, I looked at her, I looked at my other friends. I'm like, that's a really good question. Why don't you give me a little bit to think about it, and I'll send you an email after a while, and you can go to YouTube and check it out when I have the answer. Well, I knew what my answer was, but I wanted to give a good explanation. A gun is the same as a hammer or a screwdriver or a remote control or a cell phone. It is a tool. Most tools, when they were invented or creative, was meant for good, to be used for good. Unfortunately, I can't say the same thing about a firearm. But even tools like, let's say a steak knife, for instance, when used for good, what do? You cut meat with it. Screwdriver, it's mostly used for good. So's a hammer. So is most things you see here. A TV remote, a hammer, a steak knife, flathead screwdriver, a cell phone, and two firearms. I got one, let's say a big firearm, which it is a Model 19 compact Glock, but compared to the Phoenix HP-22A, it's a big gun compared to the Phoenix, okay? They were meant for good. That's what they were made for. Tools, unfortunately, there are a lot of sick and twisted people out there, especially in the wake of the shooting in Newtown, Connecticut over a week ago. That was a terrible tragedy. My thoughts and prayers go out to the victims and their families and all the people in that community that's been affected. It's terrible. We've had these tragedies just a week or so earlier at a shopping mall in Portland, Oregon. Then there was a few months back the theater at Aurora, Colorado. And way before that, 2007, something that hit close to home, Virginia Tech. And before that, Columbine, Colorado. And I know there's been other things that's happened in between or whatever. They probably haven't been as widely publicized. A lot of people are out there yelling, "Hey, get rid of handguns." Well, you know what? State law and federal law has made meth, cocaine, heroin, and other things illegal. How did that go? Didn't go so well, did it? Marijuana, they call that a gateway drug. But you know what? That stuff grows natural. I've smoked some weed back in the day, and it got to where all it would make me do was sit and laugh for about an hour and a half. Then I'd get real hungry, go through 2 or 3 bags of potato chips and pizza rolls, and then I'd want to take a nap. I'd wake up, have a case of the Cottonmouth, and drink a 2-liter bottle of pop. That's all it ever did to me. But, there's an old saying, when guns are outlawed, only outlaws will have guns, and I firmly believe that. Now, let's get back to the video at hand here. Tools. They can be used for good, they can be used for bad. Let's start with the remote control here. Simple, change TV channels, volume up, volume down, on and off button. If you got a DVD player with it, you can control it. Well, they say, well, that's an electronic thing. I say yes, it's an electronic device, which is also what I consider to be a tool. If somebody is physically handicapped, this could really raise the quality of life for somebody. But it can also be used for bad, and it has been used for bad before. One example, a fella comes in from work. He owes some bad people some money. He's been keeping a low profile. Well, the remote control isn't wired. It's his TV set, and you could say the remote is a detonator. Okay, he comes in, he presses the on-off button, TV comes on, and as soon as the juice hits, they got a little packet of C4 in the back, just enough of a explosion, say like a concussion grenade, knocks him out, the house catches on fire, he burns to death. Alright, if it wasn't for the traces of C4, they would have thought it was an electrical fire. That's an example of good or bad for a remote control, an electronic device. Let's go to another electronic device. The simple cell phone. Alright, this is one of those Walmart specials. And it is a tool used to communicate with. Very simple. You press buttons, dial the number, call whoever, no big deal. Or you can text somebody, take pictures, no big deal. But that's meant to do good. But hey, we all know these terrorists over in the Middle East, they detonate most of their bombs, well, a lot of them anyway, by cell phone. Just another example of using a tool for bad. What about a steak knife? Very simple. I would say cavemen probably made the first knives, sharp edges or whatever. Now this has got the serrated blade. Of course you can cut through your steak real easy, and enjoy your food. This was a tool meant for good. But as we all know, there's some sickos out there. It's not got to be just a steak knife. It can be any kind of knife, It can be used to hurt people. We all know that. A hammer. This is an example of a simple tool. Alright, you can build things with it, or you take the claw end here, pull nails out, you can take something apart. It is a tool to either assemble or disassemble. Okay, but in the last, say, 10 years alone, how many wackos out there have hurt people with a hammer? Too damn many. Same thing goes for a screwdriver. Simple tool, same purpose. It's used to assemble something or disassemble something. But again, like the hammer and knife, how many sickos out there have walked up behind somebody like it, bam, right in the side of the neck. The victim just hits the floor, bleeds out. That's all there is to it. Let's go to firearms right here. Both of these guns are clear, no magazine, nothing in the chamber. It's a Glock 19, of course, and this is a Phoenix HP 22A, second generation, no magazine, nothing in the chamber. Unfortunately, the first firearm ever made was developed by a Chinese man back about 2 generations after Genghis Khan had conquered China. Okay, he developed the first firearm, and the only way to get rid of the Mongols, excuse me, Elmer Fudd moment. The only way to get rid of the Mongols was element of surprise, and since the Chinese man, his troops were fewer, he needed something devastating. So he invented the first firearm. It looked like a lead pipe mostly, but it worked. Okay? It was used for war, it was used for destruction. Yes, it is a tool of violence. But in later years, or a few centuries later, let's say people like Daniel Boone, you know, back in those days, if you go hunting and if you didn't get a deer or an elk or a bear, your family would starve, okay? This was a tool for, let's say, gathering food or whatever. I'm talking about flintlocks, muskets, those types of firearms back in those days. And of course you had the Native American Indians, the ones that were not friendly would come attack the settlers, and hey, if you didn't have something to defend yourself, they're going to hand your ass back to you. Alright. A gun, it is used for good in the right and responsible hands. It is used law enforcement, self-defense. Soldiers use it to defend themselves. But unfortunately, like all these other tools here, it can be used for bad things too. All these things here have the same thing in common. They are tools. They are meant for good use, but unfortunately, bad people will get a hold of them and they will do bad things. I can't make it no plainer than that. If somebody goes out and kills somebody with a hammer, is the government going to outlaw hammers? No. Same with the screwdriver, knife, remote control, cell phone. If those are used in the commission of a crime, is the government going to outlaw those things? No. The handguns, I think there are a lot of things that can be done and changed with the current laws. But unfortunately, there's always going to be some idiot that slips through the cracks. Doesn't matter what we think or what we do. It's going to happen. And there's going to be copycat crimes. I can tell you right now, I would never harm another person for anything, because get some tweaked up meth head break into my home, they grab a lamp or something, and I say, hey, take the lamp, hit the bricks. There's no meth head, worth me going to prison over. The only way I would harm somebody is if they kept coming at me or tried to harm a family member of mine. That's it. But like I said, the subject of this video, I was asked, what is a gun? The gun is the same as a hammer, a remote control, a cell phone, a screwdriver, or a steak knife. They are